Morning students, here I'm back with the second part of the story we had done yesterday, the Blue Beat. Yesterday in the video I had introduced the story. The author had described the particular setting where this entire story is set, where this particular incident takes place, and we get to know, or we are shown, the gorge or the fort where this particular crocodile, ancient crocodile, lived among all the logs of wood, how it survived when it was born, the circumstances it has gone through, survived, and now the author is bringing us more close to the main character of the story. And the main character of the story, as we know, is Sebia. Sebia, that 12-year-old child of the forest, who has lived her life with her parents here, brought up, and survived all the hardship of the jungle. So we continue from that point. Okay, she out here is referred to Sebia. She knew what finery was, though. The author saying that Sebia also had a sense of dressing, a sense of style, and all the sense of dressing, the sense of style that she knew was by her experiences she has got after going to the marketplace or the small cities near her jungle environment. Okay, she had been with her parents and brothers all to the jungle, to the little town at the railhead. Railhead is a railway crossing, and just there they had this particular, like a village, hutments of small shops, and sometimes she would accompany her parents and go to these small shops where there was the bazaar, that is the Indian bazaar, and she had walked to all the milling people. Milling is the jostling or the crowds of people. She had walked along with many other people there, and the dogs and the monkeys. These are signs and scenes we usually see when we go to an village hutment, small fairs and small shops, okay, where you find the monkeys on the shop, the pariah dogs or the gully dogs roaming the streets, and all these things she has gone through. The dogs and the monkeys full of fleas. Fleas are these small insects that stick onto the body of the monkeys or even the dogs. And the idling, gossiping, bargaining humanity, like these people in the fairs or these people in these small village shops, whenever they go to buy something, they don't outrightly buy something. They argue with the shopkeeper, they bargain with the shopkeeper, and they know that the shopkeeper has put up his price, and only with bargaining could they get a good deal. So she has seen all this thing, experienced all these things. Okay, the idling, gossiping, bargaining humanity, spitting beetle juice, and in our culture, eating pan, eating nowadays pan masala. Okay, this is all a part of our society, all a part of our custom, especially in the villages. The olden days, people ate a lot of pan. So there's no civic sense in eating pan. The person who is used to eating pan, they have no sense at all. They, whenever they feel like, they'll eat the pan, they'll spit it on the road. You go on the Indian road, you'll find pan marks everywhere. Every crossing, every corner, you'll find these marks of pan there. So she has seen all these things also. Spitting Beetlejuice heard the bell of the sacred bull flonking as he lumped along through the dust, and as they are walking to the marketplace, she can also experience and also see sometimes, not every time, these particular sadhus coming along with their sacred bulls, supposed to be sacred bulls. They decorate the bulls, they come from door to door begging. People give them atta, people give them money, and these cows have a bell on them. So when they walk, the bell sounds, and people know that the sadhu has come with his cow. And that's their lifestyle, going from door to door begging. She had paused amazed before the sweetmeat shop. Now, shop by shop, the author is going to describe the village fair. The first shop that she encounters is the halwai, where the sweets are made. And in village halwai, sweets are made in a very, very dirty type of condition. So she stops there. the colorful the sweets are, the more they are sold. Okay, so she stops there before the sweet stall to gaze at the brilliant honey confection. That is the sweets that are made out of honey and different colors, abuzz with dust and flies. This see the what how these sweet shops, sweets have been sold. Sweets are covered with dust because people keep passing. All these sweets are put on display on these pieces of wood, one on top of the other. A huge planks of wood are put there. Sweets are put there. Colorful. The more colorful, the more they are sold, as I said. But as people keep passing up and down, dust keeps accumulating on those sweets. Flies are umpteen. They are never covered. Most unhygienically they are sold and eaten. But nothing happens to these village people. They are used to it. Okay. They smelled wonderful above the smells of the drains and humanity. They were more sweet smelling than the drains that were flowing through there and the sweaty body of the people that are passing up and down. And the cheap cigarette also, the pan, the cigarette smell, the beedi smell. At home, she sometimes tasted her. Now, she has never ever experienced buying these sweets from the shop. Because of poverty, her parents could never afford to buy her. Even though she had this craving, she had never ever tasted these sweets. The only sweet that she has ever tasted in life is the honey that her parents have come with after breaking a beehive, bringing it home, and that sweet honey she has tasted. Or the syrup of the sugar cane also, that is the ganna ka ras, also she has tasted. Then there was the cloth. The next shop she encounters is the cloth shop. Now when these cloth come to the shop, they come in thans, wrapped in thans. So when they come fresh from the mill is the place where the cloth is produced, colors is given there, dyed, and they have a nice particular smell there. Okay, so she stops there, admires all the cloth, the different colorful cloth, as well as taking in the smell of that fresh cloth. Okay, stocked with the great rolls of new cotton cloth, stamped with the edge of the maker's sign. Like every than has the sign of a maker. Okay, and smelling so wonderful of its dressing straight from the mills that Sylvia could have stood by it all day. And she was so attracted to these cloths that if it was left to her, she could stand there the entire day, smelling the cloth, admiring the cloth there. But there were other wonders to see. But the author carries on, says along with the sweet shop, along with the cloth selling shop, there were other things for her. And in this cloth shop also, there were other things to be sold, like satin sewn with royal silver thread, tin trays from Birmingham, and a sari which had got chips of looking glass. Sari with those small small pieces of glass. That makes it, these are the Rajasthani type of material that is sold in the market, embroidered into the border. She joined the crowd. She carries on, stops at each spot. She stops there, admires it, fills her heart with admiration, and continues. A little ahead, she finds a crowd of people gathered round a particular seller. She goes along with the parents to inquire who that person is, what he is selling, and then she finds out. She joins the crowd round a Kashmiri travelling merchant on his way to the bungalow. Now these Kashmiris, they may be coming to y'all also, to your homes also in Firozabad, in Agra and Tunda also, and they go from home to home in the rickshaw, sometimes walking, sometimes on cycle, and they come with shawl, with warm suits, with different type of thing. Sometimes they also come with other things like dry fruits, and Kashmiri saffron is very famous, and sometimes they bring, it's very expensive also, they bring all these things to sell among the rich people, especially the people who live in big homes, okay, to the bungalows. He was showing down colored silk that poured like rain. He was showing the people there some cloth, silken color, brownish color, okay, and he got a little locked chest with turquoise and opals. Along with it, he has got some semi-precious stones also to sell. Best of all, a box which, when you pressed it, a bell tinkled and a yellow woolen chicken jumped out. He had also come with toys that are made in Kashmir, and there's a particular toy that is locally produced in Kashmir. These travelers used to come with it. You press it, and when after it is pressed, a little chicken pops out. Very attractive, and usually children long for these type of, because they don't find it in their particular locations. It comes from all the way from Kashmir, so sometimes the children see it, they admire it, and they want to buy it. There was no end to the wonders of the world, that is the entire market area. But Sibia, in all her life from birth to death, was marked for work. Now we come, the authors highlighting the plight, the condition in which Sibia was living a life. And on the onset only, he is telling us readers that Sibia, being a girl born into an Indian family, a tribal family, it was that she had to work from birth to death. That is the life of a girl in our Indian society, especially tribal society. In all her life, from birth to death, was marked to work. Girls and ladies in tribal villages work more harder than boys and men. That is the fact of life. Okay. Since she could toddle, and since birth, from the time she learned to walk or even crawl, she had husk on. Imagine that. From a very, very young age, her parents had taken her to the field to cut the grass, to cut the corn that was growing in the field. Imagine, 2 or 3 years from that time, she is 12 years old. She is doing all this. And gather sticks and put dung on prey. Dung matlab that gobar to make kanda and all these things. All these things are being taught to the girls. And cook and weeded and carried and fetch water to cut grass for fodder. All the hard life she has undertaken. Cut wood, pile up wood, do the kitchen work, clean the home. Everything is left on her young shoulders to do at home. She was going with her mother and some other women now to get paper grass. On this particular instance, on this particular trip, she is traveling with a whole lot of women along with her mother to a particular spot just outside the village where they go and they cut this particular grass known as paper grass. By the name paper grass only you can get an idea. This grass is made into pulp. Ultimately, paper is produced from this grass. But it grows on the village outskirts on a little type of mountainous area there. And every morning, Sibia along with the other women would gather and would go to this particular spot. The entire day they would cut the grass and then they would return by evening. From the cliffs are the small type of hilly areas above the river. When you had enough of it, you could take it down by bullock cart and to the railhead and sell it to the agent. After these women would cut the full day long, they would take long big sheets, gather all this paper grass in the sheets, put it on their heads, walk down the cliff, come down, cross the river, walk right up to the railroad head. There you would have these agents who would be sitting there, and these tribal people would go sell it to these agents. Now the main work is done by these tribal people, but the main profit is taken up by these agents. That is the life of these particular poor people. So here the author is highlighting that also. Okay, and sell it to the agent who would arrange for it dispatched to the paper. And after it is sold, these are the middlemen, the tout. They would buy it cheaply from these people, and then they would transport it to the paper mills, sell it there at a higher rate. Sitting, they would get the maximum profit without doing anything, just buying this paper grass from these tribal people. The women often toiled all day at this work, and the agent sat on silk cushions. Imagine, the women would do the hard work, and this agent would sit on his takiya, sit on his chair, silken chair. That is showing the standard of him. That soft chair with silken cushions, and that's showing his richness, the amount of money he is making on these poor people. Agent on a silk cushion, smoking a hookah. Village life, no BD, no cigarettes. BD maybe sometime, but mostly people are accustomed to smoking the hookah. Such thoughts did not trouble Sibia, however, as she skipped along with her sickle and homemade hay fork besides her mother. Now she is not concerned with the agent making his money, selling the products at it, because she is too small to realize all these facts. She is having a sickle. Sickle is an instrument like a question mark it is, to cut grass, very very sharp. Okay, you must have seen it, you must be having it at home also. And she also has a hay fork made by her own hands there, and she is carrying this hay fork. Is like a type of a fork that is used by these particular people to pull this particular hay. You could skip on the way out, but not on the way back when you ached with tiredness and there was a great load to carry. Now the author is saying that when you are making the trip to cut the paper grass, you are fresh, that is the morning time. You are lively, you are energetic, and you can have the energy to undertake the journey. But when you cross the river, go up the cliff, going up the cliff is also energy consuming. And when you cut the grass, the entire day you are bending and cutting and cutting and cutting. It takes your life out. So when they come back, they are not that fresh, they are not that energetic, and plus they are also carrying the load that they have cut on their head. That's a weight also. So they come down slowly. So I think that's enough for today. We have reached page number 96. We will end it from here, 96. The next video we will carry on from here. But before I leave, I would like to remind you all that up till where I have covered, make sure you take out your workbooks. All of you have your workbooks. Take out your workbooks and underline all the meanings there. You have the words, the difficult words, underline. If you find any word that is not there, you can consult the dictionary. You don't have the meaning, consult me. I am there always to help you solve your problem. So till the next time, good day, goodbye. Thank you.